In the wake of a highly anticipated but tactically cautious super fight against Zhang Weili at UFC 322, women's flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko is pushing back against a persistent and reductive critique of her sport. Faced with the familiar, often dismissive trope from a segment of fans who mockingly claim to use women's MMA bouts as a bathroom break, Shevchenko offered a pointed and philosophical rebuttal. She argues that such criticism is often mindless repetition rather than genuine analysis, a meme passed along without critical thought. Most people don't ask themselves what, how, or why. They simply repeat what they're told, Shevchenko stated, framing the dismissal as a lazy echo rather than an informed opinion. In its place, she advocates for a different lens of appreciation, one that values the unique aesthetic and technical dimensions women bring to the cage. She highlights the beautiful form that highlights physique and athleticism, the combination of strength but also grace, and the execution of complex, varied techniques like spinning strikes as art forms distinct from the often brutish power displays celebrated in men's divisions. This defense arrives at a pivotal moment for the visibility and perception of women's MMA. The criticism Shevchenko addresses often peaks after technical, strategic battles that prioritize control over chaos, a style she has mastered, but one that some audiences conflate with a lack of action. Her response is a call to refine the viewer's palate, to recognize the sophistication and athletic artistry in a well-executed game plan. The upcoming co-main event of UFC 324, featuring the powerhouse clash between Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes, presents a starkly different archetype, one built on overwhelming force and the high probability of a violent finish. Shevchenko likely sees this not as a repudiation of her style, but as a complementary showcase of the division's diversity. The Harrison-Nunes fight has the potential to shatter the bathroom break narrative through sheer undeniable spectacle, proving that women's MMA can deliver both the graceful, technical chess match and the earth-shattering highlight reel explosion. Thus, Shevchenko's comments are more than just a defense of her own performances. They are an advocacy for a broader, more nuanced appreciation of the women's game. She positions herself not just as a champion, but as a curator of a specific, high-level craft within the sport. As she prepares for her next title defense and the women's divisions continue to evolve, her hope is that the conversation matures alongside the athletes. The goal is for critics to move beyond simplistic, derogatory memes and engage with the fights on their own technical and strategic terms, whether they are balletic displays of control like hers or the destructive firefights that others promise. In doing so, Shevchenko is fighting a battle outside the cage, one for respect, recognition, and the rightful place of women's MMA as a multifaceted and compelling pillar of the sport, worthy of undivided attention from bell to bell. The long, bitter war between Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, a rivalry that defined a generation of the light heavyweight division, has found an unlikely and intriguing potential coda. Not a third MMA fight, but a pure wrestling match on the mats. As the two legends prepare to face off as coaches on a Russian reality show, reigniting their timeless feud for a new audience, Cormier has openly mused about settling their score in the Real American Freestyle promotion, a venue that has become a haven for elite grapplers and retired stars. On this hypothetical battleground, Islam Makhachev, a close friend and training partner of Cormier, offers a fascinating and brutally honest assessment. While he implies a third MMA bout would be a difficult task for Cormier at this stage, he paints a different picture for a wrestling-only contest. Only in wrestling could Cormier handle Jones, Makhachev stated, framing the mat as Cormier's true domain. He acknowledges Jones's formidable wrestling within MMA, but draws a clear distinction, noting Cormier's Olympic-level pedigree as a different, rarefied tier of skill. That is a very high level, Makhachev emphasized, suggesting that in a sport stripped of strikes and submissions, Cormier's foundational, world-class grappling could theoretically neutralize Jones's physical advantages and unorthodox style. This analysis from Makhachev, a reigning champion in one of the sport's premier grapplers, adds significant weight to the fantasy matchup. It transforms the idea from mere nostalgia into a compelling stylistic debate. In the octagon, Jones's reach, striking, and uniquely creative clinch game were the difference makers. On the mats, the equation changes. Cormier's pressure, his explosive doubles, and his grinding chain wrestling prowess, honed in global freestyle competition, would be the sole weapons in play. Makhachev's comment subtly highlights the difference between MMA wrestling, a tool for control and positioning, and the purist, point-scoring discipline of Olympic-style freestyle, where Cormier's credentials are virtually untouchable by anyone in the sport's history. Whether this wrestling match ever materializes remains to be seen, but its mere discussion serves to reframe their rivalry one final time. It offers Cormier a path to a symbolic victory in the one arena where his technical superiority is unquestioned, and it offers fans a dream what-if scenario that bypasses the complications of age, weight cuts, and the wear and tear of an MMA camp. For now, as they coach opposite each other on reality TV, the specter of a final, pure athletic contest on the mats will linger, a tantalizing possibility that even Jon Jones's greatest ally in the current championship picture believes could finally tilt the scales in Daniel Cormier's favor. It's a final chapter that would trade gloves for singlets and cage-side seats for mat-side views, but would carry all the weight of a legacy-seeking trilogy fight. The carefully constructed narrative for UFC 324's interim lightweight title fight, a centerpiece designed to launch the UFC's Paramount Plus era with the star power of Paddy Pimblett and the violent appeal of Justin Gaethje, now finds itself under the threatening cloud of a medical mystery and a rising tide of public demand for sporting justice. The emergence of a mysterious mark on Gaethje's neck, speculated by fans to be a staph infection, has done more than raise health concerns. It has reignited the simmering controversy over Arman Tsarukyan's title shot snub and crystallized it into a single, urgent question. Should the UFC's commercial vision yield to a contender's deserved opportunity if fate intervenes? Gaethje's swift dismissal of the mark as a healing ingrown hair has temporarily calmed the medical panic, but the psychological damage is done. The mere possibility of a compromised Gaethje has laid bare the underlying tension fans have felt since the bout was announced, that Pimblett's path, built on popularity over a top 10 resume, has been fortuitous, facing an aging Michael Chandler, and now potentially a less than 100% Gaethje. As one fan starkly put it, the fear is a scenario where Gaethje, like TJ Dillashaw before him, fights at 50% and suffers a needless loss, all while the most deserving contender watches from the sidelines. This atmosphere has transformed Tsarukyan from a sidelined critic into the people's champion in waiting. His proactive declaration that he is training as the unofficial backup, ready to step in on short notice, now appears prescient rather than petulant. The fan reaction to the Gaethje scare has been a unified chorus calling for this exact scenario. Comments like, "Get on a plane, Arman, make Paddy earn it," and "Please, please pull out before it's too late so Arman can be a replacement," represent more than just support for Tsarukyan. They are a rejection of the perceived engineered path for Pimblett and a demand for the meritocratic showdown that was bypassed. They frame Tsarukyan not as an alternative, but as the correction to an original sporting error. This puts the UFC in a precarious position. Their flagship main event is now shadowed by doubts about one fighter's health and the other fighter's legitimacy in the eyes of a vocal segment of the fanbase. Thus, the final weeks before UFC 324 have become a high-pressure test of the promotion's priorities. If Gaethje is truly healthy and delivers a classic highlight performance, the interim title will feel earned, and the controversy may fade. But if any hint of impairment surfaces, or if Gaethje were to withdraw, the UFC faces a monumental choice.
Inserting Tsarukyan would be a dramatic, sports-first mea culpa that would instantly legitimize the interim crown, but force Pimblett into a far more dangerous stylistic nightmare. Sticking with a replacement of Pimblett's choosing would be seen as protecting their investment at the cost of the title's credibility. The STAPH scare, whether real or not, has already succeeded. It has exposed the fragile foundation of the interim title narrative and empowered the ghost of the fight that should have been made. Now, every update on Gaethje's neck will be scrutinized, not just for his health, but for its potential to finally open the door for Arman Tsarukyan to walk through and claim what many believe has been his all along.
The pristine, untarnished zero that precedes a fighter's record is more than a digit. It is a myth, a marketing tool, and a psychological fortress. For Michael Morales, the surging welterweight phenom whose highlight reel knockout of Sean Brady announced him as a title threat, that fortress was unexpectedly breached not by a rival in the cage, but by a database update. The combat sports statistics site Tapology sent a tremor through his narrative by revising his professional record from a perfect 19-0 to 20-1, citing a previously unlogged bout from a 2017 Ecuadorian reality show tournament, Ultima Pelea. In that contest, an 18-year-old Morales was submitted by the more experienced Ricardo Centeno. Tapology's justification that the tournament's rules in the presence of established pros met its criteria of professional MMA collided head-on with the conventional understanding of a fighter's official, UFC-led record. Morales' furious response, "I'll punch injustice right in the face, F you Tapology," was a raw defense of his hard-earned undefeated aura, a rejection of a loss that feels, in the context of his current dominance, like an archival phantom rather than a legitimate sporting result. This incident exposes the fragile and often arbitrary nature of a fighter's official record in the decentralized world of MMA. Unlike boxing, with its centralized sanctioning bodies, MMA records are composite images built from various databases, athletic commissions, and promotional histories. The UFC, for its purposes, will almost certainly continue to market Morales based on his unblemished record within their promotion in the major leagues that preceded it. The Ultima Pelea bout exists in a gray area, a professionally structured fight for a teenager on a reality show, a format that the UFC's own The Ultimate Fighter carefully designates as exhibition. Tapology's decision to treat one reality format as pro and another as not highlights the inconsistency that fighters must navigate. For Morales, the practical impact is likely minimal. His ranking, his upcoming fights, and his trajectory toward a title shot remain unchanged. Yet the symbolic sting is real. That one now sits in the digital record books, a permanent footnote that, fair or not, will accompany his name in certain corners of the sport's history. Ultimately, this is a battle of narratives. The narrative Morales has built, one of a destructive, unstoppable force rising through the UFC ranks, remains intact based on the evidence that matters most, his performances under the bright lights. The narrative imposed by Tapology is one of archival completeness, a commitment to logging every contest that meets a specific, albeit debatable definition of professional. The true test will come in the cage. If Michael Morales continues his violent ascent and eventually captures UFC gold, the 2017 loss on a reality show will be relegated to a curious trivia question, a historical asterisk overshadowed by championship glory. His legacy will be written by the fights everyone saw, not the one a website rediscovered. For now, the episode serves as a reminder that in the digital age, a fighter's record is not just earned with fists, it is also curated, debated, and sometimes rewritten from afar. The most venomous, deeply personal rivalry in UFC history, a feud that defined an era of the light heavyweight division and spilled over into genuine animosity, is poised for an unlikely and fascinating third act. not on the octagon, but on the set of a reality show. Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier, whose two epic fights were overshadowed by years of bitter trash talk, physical altercations, and mutual disdain, will stand across from each other once more as opposing coaches on Off Reality 3. A recent face-off photo from the production, devoid of the usual fight week hostility, has already gone viral, symbolizing the surreal new chapter in their storied dynamic. While Cormier has stated the nasty beef is over, but friendship remains unlikely, Jones is projecting a more optimistic vision. In his first comments, Jones framed the experience as a chance for reconciliation. "I think his coming out here would be a great opportunity for us to mend this jacked-up relationship, to maybe start a friendship." This represents a dramatic tonal shift from the man who once vowed to piss on Cormier's legacy, suggesting a conscious effort from Jones to use the collaborative, prolonged exposure of the show as a vehicle for closure and perhaps even camaraderie. However, the ghosts of competition are not so easily exorcised. Cormier's remarks, while acknowledging the end of the hostility, carry a more reserved, competitive edge. He has already teased the possibility of a future wrestling match under the Real American Freestyle banner, a hint that the desire to finally best Jones, even in a different arena, still simmers beneath the surface. This creates a compelling dual narrative for their reality show stint. On one level, it will be marketed as a story of reconciliation, two aging legends putting the past behind them to guide the next generation. On another, it will be impossible to ignore the underlying current of unfinished sporting business, the history of one-sided results. Jones won both UFC fights, though the second was overturned to a no contest, and the pride of two ultra-competitive alphas. Their interactions will be scrutinized for any hint of the old tension or the authenticity of a new detente. Thus, Off Reality 3 becomes more than a talent search. It is a high-stakes experiment in legacy management and personal evolution. Can these two men, who built legendary careers in part by hating each other, successfully coexist in a cooperative format? Will the forced proximity and shared goal of coaching foster the friendship Jones hopes for? Or will it merely provide a new, more civil stage for their enduring competitive friction? For fans, it offers a tantalizing glimpse behind the curtain of a feud that felt endlessly bitter, a chance to see if time and distance have truly healed those wounds, or if the respect they now publicly express is merely a quieter form of the same rivalry. When the show airs, the focus will nominally be on the prospects, but the undeniable draw will be the slow, unscripted drama between the two coaches, a final, fascinating bout in their long war, this time fought with words and gestures rather than fists and elbows, with legacy and peace as the ultimate prizes.
The specter of the scale looms as large as any opponent for Kayla Harrison, casting a long and worrying shadow over the build-up to her first UFC bantamweight title defense. As she prepares to face the legendary Amanda Nunes in the historic co-main event of UFC 324, it is not Nunes's legendary power that is generating the most urgent fan concern, but rather a simple social media post, a video of Harrison sweating in a sauna, posted nearly 3 weeks before fight night. For a champion who has openly detailed the brutal, months-long process of shedding over 30 pounds to make the 135-pound limit, a grind so severe she once admitted to peeing blood a week before a fight, this glimpse into her routine is a stark reminder of the physical tax her championship reign demands. The comments beneath the post are a chorus of alarm and confusion, with fans questioning the very logic of the fight's weight class. "What's even the point?" one asked, while others called the cuts absolutely brutal and illegal and bad for athletes' health. This public anxiety transforms her weight cut from a private battle into a central, unsettling subplot to the super fight itself. This concern is magnified by the unique danger of her opponent.
Harrison has navigated her UFC run thus far against grapplers and lesser strikers, where a weight-drained performance could be overcome with her Olympic-level judo. Amanda Nunes represents a catastrophic upgrade in threat level. Nunes hits way too hard for you to be having this rough a weight cut, one fan astutely noted, predicting a knockout. The peril is twofold. A draining cut can sap the explosive power and relentless pressure that define Harrison's game, while also potentially compromising her chin and cardio, the very attributes she will need to survive Nunes's early onslaught and impose her will in the later rounds. Every hour spent in the sauna, every pound painfully shed is not just a step toward making weight, it is a potential subtraction from the physical resources she will have to draw upon in the most significant fight of her life. The intrigue deepens with the revelation of Nunes's preparation. In a clever and symbolic move, the Lioness has enlisted the help of Larissa Pacheco, the only woman to ever defeat Harrison in MMA. This is more than just strategic insight, it's a psychological declaration. Nunes is not just studying Harrison, she is being coached by the architect of her sole defeat, a fighter who solved the puzzle of Harrison's pressure and found a path to victory. It creates a fascinating dichotomy, one champion engaged in a visible, grueling war with her own body, while the other quietly sharpens her weapons with the guidance of a proven conqueror. When they finally meet at UFC 324, the battle will be as much about Harrison's ability to withstand her own punishing process as it is about her ability to withstand Nunes's fists. The sauna video is a haunting preview, a reminder that before Kayla Harrison can defend her title against a legend, she must first survive the most dangerous fight of her week, the one against the scale.
Maycee Barber's triumphant return to the UFC octagon at UFC 323 was a testament to sheer resilience, a victory forged after a harrowing 21-month layoff filled with medical uncertainty. Yet, the fight itself delivered a different kind of adversity, one not from her opponent, but from the very officials tasked with ensuring her safety. In a deeply troubling incident, now detailed by Barber, her dominant win over Karine Silva was marred by a glaring referee error and a separate timing mistake that together cast a shadow over the contest. The pivotal moment came when Silva, grounded, landed a clear and forceful illegal upkick directly to Barber's face. Referee Mark Smith's handling of the foul was, by Barber's account and visible evidence, a profound failure. Instead of halting the action to assess the damage, penalize Silva, or at minimum restore Barber's dominant position, Smith dismissed the strike as a glancing blow and pressured Barber to continue immediately. "He did tell me that was a glancing blow and stop," Barber recounted, revealing her initial confusion led her to believe she was in trouble. Replays confirmed the brutal impact. Barber was visibly wobbled, making the referee's minimization not just an error in judgment, but a dangerous dismissal of fighter welfare. This experience has fundamentally shattered Barber's trust in the official. "I don't want him reffing my fights at all," she stated bluntly. "I don't feel safe in there with him anymore." Her criticism cuts to the core of the referee's role, to be a neutral protector. In her view, Smith prioritized the flow of the fight over her physical well-being after an unambiguous foul, an unforgivable lapse for someone whose bad day at work could end an athlete's career. Compounding the frustration, Barber later discovered a separate critical error from the timekeeper, who allegedly forgot to hit the timer in the final seconds of the second round. This mistake, she notes, allowed the sequence where Silva locked in a deep triangle choke to even occur, as the round should have ended earlier. "That whole sequence wouldn't have happened," Barber explained, highlighting how administrative failures can directly alter the danger and outcome of a fight. Despite these dual systemic failures, Barber's focus remains on the future. Having extended her win streak to 7, she is already campaigning for a quick turnaround, eyeing a potential title shot or a marquee fight that could position her for the historic White House card later in the year. Her ordeal, however, serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities fighters face beyond their opponents.
They step into the cage, trusting a network of officials to enforce the rules and manage the environment fairly. When that trust is broken by a referee who downplays a foul or a timekeeper whose lapse extends a dangerous position, it exposes a chilling variable no amount of training can prepare for. Maycee Barber won her fight, but she lost faith in a system meant to safeguard her. A victory that came with a sobering lesson about the unseen battles fought every time the cage door locks.
The highly anticipated featherweight championship rematch between Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes at UFC 325 in Sydney has been thrust into an unexpected and puzzling pre-fight controversy, one centered not on trash talk, but on the curious timeline of a training camp. With 3 weeks still remaining before fight night, a social media post from a podcast featuring footage from Diego Lopes's camp declared it his last day at camp, sending fans and analysts into a spiral of confusion and concern. This revelation is bizarre on its face. A professional fighter's camp typically crescendos right up to the final days before weight cut, with sharpening, strategy, and weight management being meticulously calibrated until the very end. For Lopes to ostensibly conclude his intensive preparation a full 21 days out, especially for a title shot against a dominant champion like Volkanovski, raises immediate red flags. It suggests either a radical and risky departure from standard preparation, a potential undisclosed issue that curtailed training, or most likely a significant miscommunication or misinterpretation of the last day of full contact sparring versus the entire camp. This odd timing amplifies the existing skepticism surrounding the fight's merit. Volkanovski handily defeated Lopes by unanimous decision just 9 months ago at UFC 314, a bout that, while competitive, never truly felt in doubt. The swift rematch, coming as Volkanovski navigates the latter stages of his legendary career, has already been questioned by fans who viewed it as an unnecessary revisit rather than a sporting necessity. Now, the narrative is doubly clouded. If Lopes has genuinely ended his camp early, it feeds directly into the perception that he is unprepared, or perhaps even resigned to the daunting task ahead. The betting odds, which already heavily favor Volkanovski at -178, may widen further if the market interprets this as a sign of disarray in Lopes's preparation. Comments from fans like, "This camp won't save him," and expressions of bewilderment over the timeline underscore how this incident has negatively shaped the pre-fight atmosphere, shifting focus from a championship clash to a mystery about one man's readiness. When they finally meet in Sydney, the story will no longer be just about revenge or legacy. It will also be about whether Diego Lopes's unconventional timeline was a catastrophic miscalculation or a misunderstood piece of a larger, hidden plan. The confusion has, for better or worse, become an inextricable part of the fight's build-up, adding a layer of intrigue that the first, more straightforward encounter never possessed.
As the UFC embarks on its monumental new broadcast era with Paramount+, a subtle but significant philosophical shift appears to be taking shape behind the scenes, one that prioritizes fireworks over control and spectacle over stalemate. According to Sean O'Malley's coach, Tim Welch, a rumor is circulating within fighter circles that the promotion is actively steering its product toward a more fan-friendly style. "I think they're trying to get away from that, which is smart," Welch stated, referencing grapplers who pin people and stall out for decisions. This sentiment aligns with the broader, years-long movement in MMA judging toward damage-based scoring, an attempt to formally penalize inaction and reward fight-altering offense. While the UFC would never publicly admit to matchmaking based on entertainment over pure merit, Welch's comments suggest an internal push to favor and promote the kind of volatile, high-output athletes who guarantee the dramatic moments that captivate a mainstream audience, especially crucial for launching a new, multi-billion-dollar partnership. This evolving ethos finds its perfect embodiment in the UFC 324 co-main event between Sean O'Malley and Song Yadong. Both fighters are archetypes of the modern, fan-friendly combatant, knockout artists with explosive power, dynamic striking, and a propensity for finishes. Welch's analysis of Song as an animal and an explosive athlete who knocks people out underscores why this matchup is a promotional dream for the new Paramount Plus debut. It's a fight with a near zero chance of a grinding, positional grappling affair. It is, by design, a likely stand-up war. Welch admits they are preparing for a 15-minute brutal war, but the underlying hope, and the UFC's likely silent hope, is that these two strikers will deliver the kind of concise, dramatic violence that creates viral highlights and hooks new subscribers. In this context, O'Malley versus Song isn't just a pivotal bantamweight clash, it's a statement of intent for the new era, a showcase of the product the UFC wants to sell. This evolving ethos casts an interesting shadow over the entire UFC 324 card and beyond. The main event between Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett is another guaranteed action fight, featuring two of the sport's most crowd-pleasing styles. Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes promises heavyweight-level power in the women's bantamweight division. The card is meticulously constructed as a highlight reel for new viewers. However, Welch's rumor also implies a more challenging road ahead for elite, control-based grapplers who win by stifling rather than stopping. If the promotion's internal incentives increasingly favor brawlers and finishers, technicians who rely on wrestling pressure may find themselves needing to adapt their styles or risk being overlooked in favor of more explosive, if less technically dominant contenders. As the UFC steps into the Paramount Plus spotlight, the message seems clear. The future belongs to those who bring the fire, and the first night of this new chapter is stacked with fighters ready to ignite it.
Sean O'Malley is staring down a pivotal crossroads, and his vision for 2026 stretches in two very different directions. As he prepares for his crucial return against the dangerous Song Yadong at UFC 324, his mind is uniquely split between the immediate threat and a grand, redemptive finale. He insists he isn't overlooking Song, acknowledging his opponent's speed and power in both hands, but he is openly and simultaneously preparing for the man he believes awaits him next, the reigning bantamweight champion Petr Yan. This dual focus is rooted in history and a clear narrative. O'Malley's split-decision victory over Yan in 2022 was the fight that catapulted him to his first title shot. Now, with Yan having reclaimed the belt, O'Malley sees a direct path back to the top. "Petr knows," O'Malley declared. "That's what's next. I'm gonna go out there, take care of Song, and that's what's next." He has mapped out a perfect 2026, a victory over Song, a championship win in a Yan rematch, the explosion of his doing well business brand, and then, potentially, retirement. This might be the last Sugar year ever, he mused, framing the next 12 months as a potential victory lap. However, this confident blueprint exists alongside a stark and contrasting possibility. O'Malley, currently on a two-fight skid, is acutely aware that his entire plan is fragile. He admitted that if he goes out and loses consecutive fights, he's done with this shit. This vulnerability adds a rare layer of stakes to his comeback. He isn't just fighting for a title shot, he's fighting for the continuation of his career as an elite fighter. The outcome of the Song Yadong fight doesn't just determine his ranking, it determines whether the Sugar Show continues its march toward a blockbuster rematch with Yan, or whether the curtain falls sooner than anyone expected. For O'Malley, 2026 will either be the year of his triumphant recoronation, or the year he walks away. The UFC's decision to crown an interim lightweight champion at UFC 324 has succeeded in creating a headline event for its Paramount Plus debut, but it has also ignited a fundamental debate about merit, marketability, and the true direction of the 155-pound throne.
While Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett prepare for their high-stakes clash, voices from within the sport's elite, like Daniel Cormier, are forcefully arguing that the promotion has bypassed the division's most compelling and legitimate sporting contest. Arman might be the best lightweight in the world since Islam is gone, Cormier stated, unequivocally signing a fight between champion Ilia Topuria and the #1 contender Arman Tsarukyan as the pinnacle matchup. I think Ilia and Arman are the two best guys in the world. I think they need a fight at some point. This critique lays bare a frustrating dichotomy for fans. A thrilling, fan-friendly interim bout exists in one lane, while what many perceive as the true championship-level showdown exists in another, stalled by politics and promotion. Tsarukyan himself has provided the most coldly pragmatic explanation for his snub, cutting through sporting pretense to point directly at the new economic reality of the UFC. He revealed that before his dominant win over Dan Hooker, he was explicitly told Pimblett was next in line, framing the decision as an inevitability of big marketing, big business. In his view, the historic $7.7 billion Paramount Plus deal necessitates champions who resonate with the core Western markets, American stars like Gaethje and British attractions like Pimblett. They need American champions, English champions, Tsarukyan surmised, adding a prophetic warning that despite this, the sheer talent from his region will eventually overwhelm the division. I think another Russian will become a champion. 5-6 belts will end up in Russia. This sentiment finds an echo in Khabib Nurmagomedov's recent comments that U.S. promotions prefer trash-talking to the silent, smashing efficiency of many fighters from the Caucasus. Thus, UFC 324's interim title fight is a spectacular symptom of a larger tension. It is a commercially astute main event that guarantees action and draws from two major markets, yet it feels, in the eyes of purists like Cormier, like a detour from the sport's competitive integrity. Gaethje is a beloved and deserving veteran, but his path is one of persistence over current ranking. Pimblett is a magnetic star, but his resume lacks a top 10 victory. Meanwhile, Tsarukyan, the undeniable top contender, is left to dominate on the grappling circuit, building a parallel legacy of excellence while waiting for a call that may never come on the UFC's new commercial timeline. The winner at UFC 324 will earn a golden ticket, but they will also inherit the lingering shadow of the unresolved best versus best fight that the promotion chose not to make. The interim belt brings movement, but it also underscores a new priority. In the Paramount Plus era, the most marketable fight can sometimes supersede the most meritorious one, leaving the true best in the world to wait their turn, or to force their way in by becoming an undeniable, unconscionable problem that even the biggest business plan cannot ignore.
The path back to the top and to a familiar throne appears to be clearly marked for Zhang Weili. Following her valiant but ultimately unsuccessful bid to dethrone Valentina Shevchenko for the flyweight title, the question of what's next for the former strawweight queen has found a compelling answer from her own camp. Her coach, John Wood, has openly laid out the most logical and arguably most enticing option: a return to 115 pounds to reclaim the championship from the new title holder, Mackenzie Dern. Wood's assessment is direct and carries the confidence of a team that believes a kingdom was only temporarily left unattended. There's obviously a clear-cut path to go back and take that title from Mackenzie. No disrespect to Mackenzie, Wood stated, before adding the pointed declaration, "That's Weili's belt." This framing sets the narrative perfectly. It paints Zhang not as a challenger, but as a returning sovereign seeking to reclaim what was once hers, a storyline rich with history and personal stakes. The sentiment echoes a widely held belief among fans and pundits that despite Dern's impressive submission victory over Virna Jandiroba to win the belt, a showdown with Zhang represents a different echelon of challenge. From a stylistic standpoint, the matchup is a fascinating clash of elite specialties. Mackenzie Dern's world-class jiu-jitsu presents a clear and present danger to anyone in the division.
However, Zhang Weili is no stranger to grappling threats. Her most recent victory at strawweight was a dominant, grappling-heavy performance against the previously unstoppable Tatiana Suarez, a fight where Zhang showcased defensive grit and top control strength that few believed she possessed. That performance fundamentally altered the perception of her ground game, suggesting she would not be a mere submission waiting to happen against Dern. Coupled with Zhang's clear and often overwhelming advantage in striking power and athleticism, it creates a scenario where, as Wood notes, you would anticipate that she will fancy her chances against just about anyone at strawweight. While other options may exist, including a potential rematch with Shevchenko or other flyweight pursuits, the call to return to strawweight is the most resonant. It offers a chance for redemption in a division she once ruled, against the new title holder whose style presents a dramatic and winnable challenge. For Mackenzie Dern, it would be the ultimate test of her reign, a chance to prove her championship medal against the very woman whose shadow still looms large over the 115-pound weight class. For Zhang Weili, it is the clear-cut path back to gold, a journey to prove the belt never truly left her possession, but was merely on loan.